Hey, Gremlin Gear. Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a video covering how to program the Yaesu FTM-500DR. This is my preferred mobile radio rig, and I want to showcase the programming software that goes along with the radio and how I utilize it. And if you are thinking about getting this radio, perhaps seeing this radio be programmed may guide you and your decision. So, this is your first time. Welcome. Please like and subscribe. It would be very cool if you did. And if you're returning, well, thank you. So, briefly, what is the Yaesu FTM-500DR for those of you who don't know? This is a C4M or Yaesu System Fusion analog and digital radio. It uses Yaesu's proprietary digital mode, known as C4M, or Yaesu System Fusion, and in apps like Repeaterbook, or if you go to their website, it should show up as YSF, or Yaesu System Fusion. This radio is also jam-packed with APRS functions that allow for quick text messaging and position status beaconing, which is one of the main reasons that I got it. Was I wanted a mobile station that was very capable of doing APRS. So I'm going to go in and show a lot of the settings, mainly the ones that pertain to APRS, but I'm also going to show about how to create a basic code plug. I'm going to start with this blank one right now. And first thing that I'll say is that we are going to be using the RT Systems programming software. I will say this programming software is probably one of the best that I've used to program any radio. As you'll see, it kind of looks like CHIRP. If you have used CHIRP before, which I hope you have, kind of looks like that. Works a little bit in the same way, which is nice. All your controls and settings are more or less the same, but it actually has some cool features in it. Now, you do have to pay for this software. It's about $25 for the software, and for the programming cable is about another $25. I think the package with the software and the cable comes out to be about $48. They send you the software immediately, and then they have to ship the cable out to you. Now, with this radio, I haven't done this yet, but there is a mode up here and under communications to write and read data from the SD card. And I know that the radio stores a lot of like APRS messages and other items that you can save. And I don't know if you can pull images off of this via digital modes, but I believe that you're able to write and read code plugs or your channels, your program's channels from the SD card without having to buy the programming cable. However, I haven't done that. I figured since I was going to go ahead and buy something from the website, I was just going to get both. But that is my biggest gripe with this radio, is that you're super excited. You just bought a $700, almost $700 radio. I think I got mine for a little bit less. And it ships with no way to program it. There's no software that Yaesu provides, and there's no cable. Like, even if Yaesu had a program, like a CPS that were just really bad, at least there would be a way to program it. But whenever I got mine, I had to wait until the cable came in, and I would recommend it. It would be a little bit advantageous to you if you don't have a AC to DC power supply converter that you can bring into the home and turn the radio on and plug it up to a desktop, to have a laptop that you have this running on and go take it out to your car to do the radio. And whenever you get the software, they will send all sorts of instructions, and it runs you through the instructions pretty easily about how to actually do the reading and writing, and to install the drivers. So if you buy it, I'm not going to go into that. Just it's pretty easy to figure out on your own. So, getting into some of the features of the CPS. Cool thing is, this works like CHIRP in the sense that it will automatically put in commonly used repeater frequencies and automatically generate what it believes like the offset to be, for example. So here, I just put in the receive frequency, and it's going to generate my transmit frequency, so my offset. It's going to put that in here and tell you what the direction it's in, what operating mode it's in. DN is for digital, and I don't really mess around with any of the other ones. And You can name the channel here. I believe it holds about 16 characters. And we have our tone mode right here. So for most repeaters, you're going to have tone. And DCS. And then you have, so it is your tone squelch that is going to be if there needs to be a CT/CSS tone for the receive and the transmit. And same thing with DCS. You have the same option here. Haven't used many of the other ones, and I will also show some features where you don't necessarily even really need to put in any of this information, which makes this CPS really awesome. These are your digital ID numbers, which if you go and look at the digital repeaters that you are programming, you'll see if you need one. Most of them don't. And these can be used as kind of like color codes for DMR. And your different digital group IDs can be configured. You can coordinate them with your friends that you're trying to talk to. So yes, these are pretty much color codes from what I understand. They're kind of the same thing. Here we have power select. Skip is going to skip it on the scan. If you have it selected, it will not scan that frequency. And automatic mode select is a feature that is going to determine whether it needs to be digital or analog, a digital or analog transmission. So you pretty much keep that on for all of the channels. So now I'm going to go up here to settings and go to radio menu settings. And here we're going to find pretty much all the stuff you're going to want to customize for yourself whenever you are inputting your APRS settings or making this radio really yours. And so this is a blank Codeplug, so I don't have any of my settings in here. But I'm going to jump on over to the Codeplug that I have created so I can show you exactly how I have my settings configured. So, and ignore the channels in the background. I'm going to get to that in a bit. Here is how the main menu settings work. So, most of the stuff I have not touched. But here is how you choose between an internal or an external GPS. I don't know why you would use an external one. I have mine set up on my dashboard on my car. Internal GPS for APRS works good. And up here is where you put in your call sign. So whenever the radio boots up, you'll have your call sign. If you do boot up the radio before seeing this video, it's one of the first things that it asks you is to put in your call sign. So you'll want to go ahead and do that so it writes it every single time. So one of the most customizable things to go ahead and change are your mic keys. And so I didn't really like how it was set up to begin with, and I actually don't even remember how it was. But the way I have mine set up is that, so this is from left to right going down. P1 is scanning, so it's just going to scan everything. Another thing I don't really like about this radio is, from what I understand, and I haven't really been able to, I don't think it's an option to do this, you can't section your channels off into like memory banks or groups. So I can't like group channels 1 through 50 to be like in the city that I live in, and channels 50 through 100 to be like, you know, my favorite vacation spot, and then only scan one at a time. You have to just scan everything you have programmed, which I don't prefer. It's just, you'll be scanning stuff that you won't hear any traffic on. But I do have my P1, so I press that button, quickly starts a scan, or I press it again, stops the scan. P2 will display my APRS message list. P3 will record audio, which is a really great feature this radio has. I think all radios should have that feature. And then P4 is actually going to pull up NOAA weather frequencies and just let me scroll through all the NOAA weather frequencies, which you can see back here. So they come pre-programmed. I click that button, and I can just scroll through and figure out which ones are active in my area, which is a great feature. I highly recommend that you display your compass heading as you're heading up instead of north up, as it will give a true direction of an APRS packet from the way that you're facing, instead of it just showing north up all the time, because that's usually not the case. I do turn my brightness down to mid, as it's very bright whenever you do boot up the radio. But besides that, I didn't change my text colors or anything like that. I turn my beep down to low because it does not need to be on high. I find that very annoying. And besides that, that is all that I have going on here. Now I'm going to go into common 2. So you don't really need to change your squelch, as it's very easy to fix on the fly. And even here, I don't have that many settings changed. I would say the biggest thing to note here, yes, this radio has Bluetooth, but it's only for microphones and headsets, from what I understand. It would be great if you could Bluetooth to like a tablet to like, exchange data between, do something cool like that. It's not an option. It's only for like a microphone or a speaker mic. I have my voice memory recording set to the last 30 seconds only. And yeah, like I said, besides that, there's not much else going on here nor here. This is for connecting this station to the internet as like a base station, or connecting it via wires X, from what I understand, and I have not gotten to mess with that at all, and I don't think that I will be, considering this will be a mobile rig, unless I somehow get a Starlink on the truck. So please subscribe so I can get a Starlink eventually. So we're getting into APRS settings. So I have my call sign re-inputted with a -9, indicating that I am a mobile operator. And I have my symbol set to just a basic car. So whenever you pull this up on APRS.fi, I will be a cute little red car. And that is the symbol that I rock. So we're going to get into some of the beacon text messages that are sent out as my APRS is beaconing. So for example, this one is just en route. I know you can pretty much do whatever you want. There's a lot of random ones. Enough said. My message pop-up. I actually... okay, so 10 seconds is the highest. I was actually considering upping this because sometimes it's even hard to read all the information off of an APRS beacon in 10 seconds, but I think 10 seconds is much better than 5 or 3. So I have it for the longest setting. These ringers run by default. I like them, not a big deal. And these are some of the pre-programmed text messages that I have programmed in the radio. These are just some examples. You can come up with whatever you want that I can send out to people. Now, your message group, your APRS message group, is kind of like a way to route APRS traffic and only receive APRS traffic from certain things. For example, WXBot are APRS weather stations. I believe the Yaesu group is only for Yaesu radios or Yaesu operators. And then there's like an all mode, right? So just everything. And that's what I have mine set on. Over APRS compass as also heading up, and as our digipath for routing, want to make sure that it's wide 1-1 and wide 2-1, unless you have some other routing that you know that you need to add in. This is basically what it needs to be. Also, skip this. Want to make sure that your APRS modem is checked on so that whenever you start up your radio, you will start transmitting APRS. So you need to make sure that is on if you're wondering why your APRS is not working. But we're going to get over here to our beacon settings. So this radio has something called smart beaconing, and pretty much here are the parameters for smart beaconing. You can define 3 different types, and you can essentially filter out if you're traveling at low speeds and you don't want to send out APRS packets, you can limit your transmission by your speed. You can essentially filter your APRS packets and not transmit them if you're going below a certain speed, which I don't use, but maybe you can find helpful. There are some of the settings for this over here. I have my beacon type, my smart beacon off, and this is where you can choose between the two. And if you click type 1 or something, it will automatically choose that whenever you load this to the radio. My beacon interval is every 60 seconds, it's every 1 minute. You can change that depending on what you want to do. I like having a pretty frequent transmission, especially whenever I'm testing out areas to see if I can actually get into digipeaters or digigates. around where I live. And right here is where I have my beacon TX is just on, and this is where you would select if you want it smart. So this is just my regular APRS beacon. Down here where your call ringer is, you can actually select a special ring to come up if you are receiving an APRS packet from, let's say, a certain call sign, which you would put in here, and if it's coming from, let's say, that person's handheld or their mobile rig, and you can define what you want to listen for or what you want to get notified for in here. So that could be a pretty useful feature. Let's say if your friend is in a mobile unit and you want to put in their call sign and you want to be notified whenever you receive a message from them while you're driving. So down here with beacon text status, this is a really important one to do. Instead of just beaconing out pretty much nonsense or no text at all, it's really important to make sure that you have a meaningful and descriptive message that is sent out over your APRS. This is something that I've recently taken some time to do myself, and here are 4 different types of messages that I can choose between. And so here are some examples. So number 1 is just, I am mobile on my Yaesu FTM-500DR, and whenever I am sending out my packets, everyone can know that. Now here, I am mobile, monitoring the 2-meter calling frequency, which is important information, especially if someone's trying to make contact with me. And then 2 other options are just monitoring local repeaters, and I can switch between the 2 depending on where I am and what I'm doing. I don't really touch any of these other settings. However, I know I did change my barometer to this setting because this is what my Garmin watch displays, and I believe most weather apps display barometric pressure in these units, whatever they're called. And so it's what I'm used to using, and so I prefer my beacons or my packets to be displayed as that and sent out as that. Your beacon filter is where you will actually be able to filter out certain types of APRS packets. If you uncheck these, it will not show position or weather beacons or some fixed objects or some other item. You can also filter it by location. If you're getting APRS packets from way too far away, you can set them to only a mile or only 10 miles or something like that. Here in the general settings, I don't have anything put in here yet because I don't know any other digital Yaesu users that I am contacting on a regular basis, but here is where you would input information like the call sign, the radio ID, and some more custom messages for those users. So we're going to leave this now, and we're going to get right back into programming channels. And there are a few things that I'm going to show. One thing that I touched on earlier about scanning channels and having like memory banks. While this radio doesn't have an option for memory banks, it does have some other features that are supposed to kind of do that. The first one, the most useful one, is your primary memory group. And pretty much over here are a couple channels that are the most important to you. You can pick 5. And what this is going to do is it's going to, if you go down here and click PMG auto scan, click auto, and your timer, it is going to look back at these channels about every 2 seconds. And right now I have an important local repeater and the 2-meter, 70-centimeter calling frequencies. I think, like having simplex frequencies that you're not constantly monitoring, having it in the primary memory group is probably the most important thing you could do. And then 2 other repeaters that are important, have a lot of activity around my area. And then the other option that it does have is this limit memory, and from what I understand, all this really does is you can set a upper and lower limit for a certain frequency range, and it will like filter out anything that's not within that memory range or within that frequency range. So I feel like that's kind of hard to do with repeaters because a lot of repeaters share input and output frequencies. And so it's not really the same thing as having like a memory group that you can just scan by certain, geographic location. Unless I am misunderstanding how this works, I don't use this because I don't really see it useful. So let's get into how you would program frequencies into this radio. And this is where it gets really nice and easy. So pretty much for any other CPS like this, as you probably know, or as you should know, digital programming CPS for anything like, for example, DMR, if you have a DMR radio or like a Hytera or a BTEC, even though those are DMR radios, for example, a Hytera, you cannot program any other radio with the Hytera CPS. Similarly, you cannot program an Anytone with a BTEC CPS, and so nothing is cross-compatible, but they all speak one common language, and that language is .csv files, which, if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. I have some useful tools for that. If you don't already have these tools, go try to download the BTEC programming CPS, the Anytone programming CPS, and download a free tool called LibreOffice. I actually just randomly found this on YouTube with someone doing a programming video, and the LibreOffice suite is a free version of pretty much Microsoft Excel and Word. And you download it, there's no subscription, there's none of that, and it's how I program all of my CPSs and get my channels to be cross-compatible with one another. So, that might have been a lot. The cool thing is with this programmer, and why this is actually probably worth the money that I spent on it, is because you really don't have to do any of that. I poured a bunch of time into programming my DMR handheld radio, and it's a BTEC DMR 6X2, but they actually have a programming software from RT Systems for that radio. I haven't bought it yet, but if you are someone who's looking into getting a DMR radio, man, programming those things, just inputting all of your frequencies or inputting all your channels, especially if you're someone like me who just likes to have everything, like a ton. I just want to be able to talk to anything I want, anytime I want. So I spent like a ridiculous amount of time trying to program everything I could in that. And this software is really cool. I'm about to show you why. If you go up here to File, you go over to External Data. Oh, it makes everything so much easier. You can pull data straight from Repeaterbook, and it gives you like a search like you would pull up in the website right here in the CPS. And so let's just go to, and you don't have to get it perfect. Let's just do Charlotte, North Carolina. And let's do everything within 10 miles. And let's say we want to get FM fusion 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and this radio will receive 1.25 meters. So I want to be able to listen to that stuff too. We're going to do area search. And yeah, this is all we're going to do. We're going to click this, click OK. Boom. Everything within, actually shows you the distance too. Everything within 10 miles shows up. And guys, all you have to do is click this, shift click, and then copy it. There actually might be an easier way to do it. I think you can just do like select all and copy. I haven't tried this yet. Create a file. Okay, boom. Right? So you can just click that. That's all you need to do. And it went ahead and created a new tab with all of those channels. I'm just going to X out of that. And in here, look, it puts in comments for you automatically. If you don't want your power set to high, you can go in here and customize that. But besides that, this is amazing. This is everything that I would do. I would go into Repeaterbook and input all this data manually. It does it automatically. All right, so this is our one digital channel, I believe. And I think I messed up the names here. I'll show you how to fix that. If you go back here to Repeaterbook search, boom, click this up. You want to click name. We want to do the call sign because it was showing the city name as Charlotte for all of them. But we're just going to do the call sign instead. So that way, boom, you get to see the call sign of the repeater, which is what most people do. You can still add a little bit of a more descriptive title out here. You have a lot of text to actually display on this radio, which is a super nice feature. But no matter what you're doing, the great thing is about this CPS is that you do not have to go in and add all of these channels manually. It saves you a ton of time. The last thing I want to say about it is that I know for some people it might be easier to like separate certain sections by doing spaces like this. And after writing this code plug to my radio, I realized that it actually messes up the scanning feature if you leave gaps in your channels like this. So unfortunately, you need to have them all touching each other like this in here. And if you want to remember where, let's say a certain area breaks apart in here, certain geographic area breaks apart, you want to just maybe write it down on a piece of paper somewhere else and write down what channel that is. But yeah, you can see here I've got so many repeaters that are all in here. It automatically selects AMS. I have the names of all of them actually in here by, I think maybe the location or something different than the call sign. But all the programming is done for me. See, this is a Yaesu System Fusion repeater. And we've got our digital narrow selected and tone squelch. Yeah, it does it all the way that you need it to. So I pretty much have all the repeaters I could possibly have for North Carolina and plus some GMRS stuff, which is awesome. My radio is MERS cat modded, so if I wanted to, I could talk on FRS and GMRS. Cool option to have. So I hope that you learned something from this video and that it shows a little bit more about what the CPS is capable of. I hate all CPSs with a burning passion, but honestly, and I was a little annoyed I had to buy a CPS from RT Systems at the beginning just because I was like, all the other ones are free. But this one's actually pretty good. And I hate telling you what you need to do is go out and buy something. But for this radio, from what I understand, this is the only option available to you. And that's a pretty good one. I'll give it that. I'm considering buying the one for the DMR 6X2. And if you are new to radio, if you're thinking about getting that handheld or a similar radio, I would honestly encourage you to go ahead and just pull the trigger and buy a really good programming solution like this because it will save you a ton of time. So, like I said, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Comment if you have any more questions, but I just wanted to show my code plug for my radio, show how I do this a little bit, and how really easy it can be with the right tools and the right knowledge. So more radio videos to come in the future. Thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking around. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Peace out. Thank you. God bless.